Before we begin, please imagine the bell notification is on and you're subscribed to Huna's Stories. Easter at my parents' house always looked better than it felt. The table was set like a magazine spread, linen napkins folded into something resembling lilies, pastel plates that only came out once a year, my mother's silver polished to a dull shine. My brother Mark arrived late, kissed the air near my cheek, and immediately began explaining how exhausted he was from parenting. His children weren't there yet, they were at soccer. Everything in his life seemed to be for the kids. I poured coffee and waited for the moment the conversation would turn. It always did. Sometimes it was about my job, sometimes about my apartment, sometimes about my lifestyle. This year it was about the beach house. Technically, it had been my mother's. After she passed, it didn't become a shared inheritance in the way everyone assumed. She had been quieter than people realized, more deliberate. Mark cleared his throat halfway through brunch. "We should probably talk about the house," he said lightly, like he was suggesting dessert. "It just makes sense for it to stay with the family line. The kids made memories there." I kept my voice neutral. "It is staying in the family." He smiled, patient, condescending. "You don't even use it much, and you don't have kids. I do. It's just logical." Logical? My father leaned back in his chair, watching me over the rim of his glass. He had that look, the one that said, "Don't make this difficult." I felt the old tightening in my chest, the childhood instinct to soften, to negotiate, to become smaller so everyone else could feel stable. Mark continued, "You can sign it over. We'll handle the maintenance. It's better for everyone." "For everyone?" I set my fork down carefully. "No." The word didn't echo. It just sat there. Mark blinked like I'd mispronounced something. "Excuse me? I'm not transferring it." There was a pause, long enough for the refrigerator motor to kick on in the kitchen. My father's jaw flexed. "Why do you always have to be like this?" "Like what?" Mark's smile disappeared. "This is exactly what I'm talking about. You don't think about anyone but yourself." I could feel the room assembling the narrative in real time. Selfish, difficult, childless, and therefore less invested in legacy. "It's not about kids," I said quietly. "Then what is it about?" Mark snapped. I didn't answer, because the real answer was, "It's about you assuming I owe you something because you built a life that matches Dad's expectations." Mark's hand moved too fast. He grabbed his glass and slammed it against the table. It shattered. Water and shards scattered across the white tablecloth. My niece, who had just walked in, froze in the doorway. My father stood abruptly. "See?" he barked at me. "You've always been the problem." The sentence landed with the dull familiarity of something I'd heard in different forms for 30 years. Always dramatic, always difficult, always the one who won't just go along. I looked at the broken glass, at Mark breathing hard, and my father standing over me like I was 14 again, and something in me detached. Not anger, not sadness, just clarity. They still thought this was emotional leverage. They didn't understand structure. I stood up slowly, stepping around the glass. "Where are you going?" my father demanded. I didn't answer. I took my phone from my purse and walked into the hallway where the light was better. My hands were steady. I dialed my attorney. When she answered, I didn't lower my voice. "Hi, Carol." "Yes. Initiate the transfer. It's time they learned the truth." There was silence behind me. I could feel them listening. Mark laughed once. "So that's it? You're giving it up?" I met his eyes. "No." And I ended the call. For the next 30 minutes, no one spoke to me directly. My father muttered about theatrics. Mark paced. My niece and nephew were ushered into the backyard. Then my father's phone buzzed. He frowned at the screen. Then Mark's did. Then mine. Carol had sent the documents to everyone listed as interested parties. My father opened his email first. I watched his expression shift. Not dramatically, just enough. "What is this?" he asked. "It's the trust," I replied. My mother had set it up years before she got sick, quietly, without fanfare. She named me sole trustee, not because I was the favorite, because I was the only one who read documents before signing them, the only one who asked questions. Mark wasn't an owner. He was a discretionary beneficiary. So was I, technically, but control, the authority to manage, to approve usage, to transfer or withhold, rested with me. There was also a clause: in the event of hostile conduct, coercion, or attempts to force asset redistribution, the trustee was authorized to suspend beneficiary access pending fiduciary review. Carol had cited that clause in bold, effective immediately. All informal usage privileges were paused until further notice. Mark stared at his screen. "You can't do that." "I already did." "You're punishing us." "No," I said evenly. "I'm enforcing the terms." My father looked at me like he was seeing a stranger. "You went behind our backs." "It was Mom's decision," I replied. "Years ago." That part hurt him more than anything. Mark ran his hair through his head. "So what, now we have to ask you for permission?" "Yes." The word didn't shake. "And if we don't like your answer?" "Then you don't use the house." No yelling followed, no dramatic collapse, just a recalibration. The authority wasn't mine in the emotional sense. It belonged to the structure my mother had built. I was simply occupying the role she trusted me with. My father sank back into his chair. "This is unnecessary," he muttered. "Is it?" I asked softly. No one answered. The broken glass was still on the table. After a moment, I picked up my coat. "I'll have Carol reach out with guidelines for future requests," I said. "All communication about the property goes through her now." Mark looked like he wanted to argue again, but he didn't, because this wasn't a debate anymore. It was administrative. I walked out without slamming the door. In the car, my hands trembled for exactly 10 seconds. Then they stopped. I didn't feel victorious, I felt unhooked. The beach house still stands where it always has. The same wide windows, the same salt-heavy air. It hasn't changed, my relationship with my family has. No apology came that week, no sudden realization of wrongdoing. Instead, there was distance, formality, emails that began with "per the trust agreement." It's quieter now. Sometimes I wonder if I should feel guilty, but then I remember the sound of the glass breaking, the ease with which I was assigned blame, the certainty that I would fold. I didn't fold. I didn't explode either. I just enforced the truth that had been sitting in a document for years, and for the first time, being the problem felt like being the only adult in the room.